And then we found out in year 12 or 13 that my partners were stealing from the company and stealing from us. And
how'd you figure it out?
Actually, my wife figured it out.
Hey, everybody. I'm Eric Oberembt, and you're listening to Be Authentic or Get the Fuck Out. We talk about real shit, what's on our minds, and don't give a fuck if it makes you feel a little uncomfortable. So sit back, strap in, and get ready for some real shit. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Be Authentic or Get the Fuck Out. I'm your host, Eric Oberembt, here at D2DCon 7, getting in some amazing interviews, and today will be no different. Got a special guest today. I'm extremely excited to learn from him. You guys are going to get some tips probably, but we're going to get some stories about, you know, the grind and the hustle and the things that we've had to overcome through life to be able to get to the place that we are today. So I'm going to jump right into it, and I'm going to introduce my guest, Dan. Is it Dan Walrack?
Yep. Walrack.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I said it right. Pull the mic up close to you. Just there you go. Yep. Just so you talk right into that so Lexi doesn't get pissed when she's trying to edit and can't get the fucking sound to pop. So, Dan, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well here at D2D, having a good time.
Yeah? Are you? Is this your first time to D2D?
Now, we were here last year. We took a group of guys here last year from
you did?
door to door, letting them learn a little bit about getting out and networking a little bit.
Yeah. What's been your favorite part so far? What was your best part yesterday?
Well, I'm going to tell you, man, the speakers here are unbelievable.
They really are.
They draw in some fabulous speakers.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you hear about the roofing CEO panel we did yesterday?
I was over with Mike over there at Roofle, and he was telling me a little bit about it. He said it got pretty authentic.
It was fucking hilarious.
Yeah,
it was so funny. I had so much fun with that. People got really pissed off. When I say people, I mean one.
Yeah. I wonder if they're going to ask Scott back here. I bet, though.
I think he's supposed to speak today.
We'll see.
I think he's supposed to speak today, but I don't know. Whatever, man. You can't get pissed off if somebody tells the fucking truth.
That's true. I agree.
Right?
I mean, somebody said 99%.
99.
I mean, I've been doing this for 25 years. I've used a PA in 25 years, probably less than I can count on two hands.
Yes.
So, I mean, my thought process is learn it, and know what you're doing, be good at your craft.
So you don't need one.
You don't need one.
Right.
Know your codes, know what you need to do to get these things
and
approved.
that's not shitting on an industry.
No.
Right? That's just fact, right? You're either good or you're not, and if you're not good, I don't know. I'll piss somebody else off, but I don't really fucking care. It is what it is. But anyway, let's get in real quick to introduce yourself to everybody so everybody kind of knows who you are. You've kind of become infamous here recently, last couple of years, due to some, like amazing years that you've put together, but what people always forget is all the shit you had to do before that to get it. You didn't just fall into a fucking, what was it, a $16 million year or something?
18.5.
Well,
no one's
excuse
counting.
Me, but who the fuck's counting, right? Who's counting? 18.5. But there's a lot of work to go in, before that as well. So tell everybody what you do now and where you're at, and then we'll start moving on.
Well, a little bit about myself. This is going into my 25th year of doing the roofing sales part.
How old are you?
I am 47.
Okay.
So I started when I was 22. Had no idea what the hell I was doing. Jumped in, Jim Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
Coach Pro. He's like, hey, let's, hire this kid that works at Pizza Hut and playing football in college. And I'm like, I don't knock doors, man. I don't do this shit. This isn't what I do.
Right.
He's like, no, you'd be good at it. Da-da-da. Give it a shot. I'm like, dude, I'm not going to try to sell somebody a fucking roof. That's not what I do, right? And he's like, dude, you'd be good at it. I'm telling you. And I'm like, all right. So I got into it. Never left. I love it. I love I consider this a game.
Yeah.
And you got to perfect the
game. What got you over the hump on the doors?
Well, I'll be honest with you, man. 2-3 years. This is what Go Beyond the Hustle is all about.
Yeah.
Is because what people don't realize is you have to have that hustle.
Yeah.
The first 2-3 years, you have to go out there and grind. You have to knock the doors.
Yes.
I mean, it was 6:30 in the morning till 8 o'clock at night, 8 days a week. Every day pounding doors. You have to have that hustle. But at some point, you have to get to that point where you're in your brain. You're thinking to yourself, well, there's something after this. There is
100%.
There's a way to make this easier.
Yep.
Right? And 2, 3, 4 years into it, I finally realized to myself, instead of me pounding doors for 18 hours a day, I've got to get to that next step. I got to get to that next level. And I never really even thought about this until a few years back when I was with Mike, when Go Beyond the Hustle really started, is at D2T conference, for the fact that I sat on a panel watching a sales panel, and the guys up on the sales panel didn't know a quarter of the crap that I did sitting in the freaking
sure
thing. And then I'm answering questions for all these guys, and I'm like, there's a niche out there that people need help. These sales reps need help. I mean, the CEOs, the owners, the leadership, that's out there. You can go to a lot of these conferences and you can learn and grow and get stronger as a leader and stuff. But where is it where the sales reps are going to learn? Where are they going to get better? Well, somebody that's gone through the trenches for 25 years can help these people out.
Right.
And that's what I'm trying to do, is help the sales rep out there.
Gotcha. So I'm going to go back to my actual question, though.
I'm sorry.
What got you over being a pussy, not wanting to be on the fucking doors?
All right, what got me over doing that was the fact.
But that was a really good, fucking politician fucking shit that you pulled off right there. That's like when you watch fucking CNN or Fox News, and they get asked a question, and they're like, "I'm glad you asked that question, Bill." And then they go into what they're selling, and I was like, "That was fucking great. You did a really good fucking job on that." But I'm gonna make you go back to the question. Right. So what got you over being a pussy and not wanting to go on the doors in the beginning?
What got me over? Well, I always went on doors because that's something you had to do. So what got me over doing the doors is we started a thing called Watch Us Works and things like that because I was never great at knocking doors.
Hold on, I asked the question wrong. Jim came to you and said, you need to go knock doors. You said, fuck that, I don't do doors. Then you said, you have to do it for a couple of years to hustle. So between you telling Jim, fuck you, and then actually doing it, what got you over that hump?
All right, what got me over that hump was a friendship with Jim. And I graduated college with physical education, health and fitness teacher. Okay. So I had a job all lined up, ready to go. I was going to go be a teacher and go coach and stuff like that. I had a summer to do nothing. So I'm like, well, fuck it. Let's just go do this for the summer. And unlike a lot of these people don't realize is back in 20-some years ago, we actually chased storms.
Yeah.
So I jumped in a car, Ford Taurus, we drove to Appleton, Wisconsin, and I lived in a microtel, and I'm like knocking doors, and I'm like, first 2 months, as a 1099, I'm like, you ain't making shit, right?
Right.
And I'm like, I don't think this is for me, right? But I told my wife, I said I'd give it a summer because I was good friends with him. Let's see how it works, right?
Did they give you good training on the doors, or was it throw you to the wolves and figure it out?
They gave you training, not like training that's out there today.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You don't practice your pitch and you don't do all that stuff that's out there now. It was, you rode along with a guy for a couple days.
Yep.
Listen to him at the door, kind of see what he's got, and I don't want to say thrown to the wolves because Jim will bash me all day on that.
Yeah.
We weren't thrown to the wolves, but we did not have the training that's out
that's available today. Got it.
What I mean?
Okay, yeah.
And so
it was probably the best that was available then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you worked back 20 plus years ago, you understood the sink or swim method, right?
Right.
Either you're going to make it or you're not.
Yep.
That's just how it is.
Yep.
And I'm a very competitive person, and I'm a type of person where I look at the board and I see that board of 20 sales reps and I know I'm better than that guy.
Right.
I'm going to make sure I'm better than that guy. And that's what I think we're losing a lot in our industry now is the competitiveness of guys that are out there that want to be that 1%.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like a lot of people are way too comfortable with being content.
Just making their money and being fine with it. Instead of being like, hey, I want to be in that top 3.
Yep.
How am I going to get there? Well, you got to grind.
Those seem to be unicorns now. Right? Like those definitely seem, and I think that there was a lot more of those guys in the past for whatever reason. And I don't know. What do you think the reason is for that?
I think a lot of it now with the younger generation is coming through, and nothing against the different models from 1099 to W-2, but when you're paying the W-2s and you're paying them a salary or a bonus structure or whatever to get going, a lot of those younger guys, 22, 23, 24, 25-year-olds are comfortable making 50, 60 grand a year.
Do you think that they're
entitled?
Yeah, I mean, is that it? Like they're a little too comfortable. So they were already comfortable coming in, and they know somebody's going to help them out if they don't fucking make it anyway. So there's no I gotta fucking do this or
no. I mean,
what the fuck?
I mean, we all had our we all had our whys, man. I had a why of why I needed to do this. I had a family. I wanted to get to that point, and again, I'm competitive. I wanted to be the best, and I made that way. You see it out there in the industry now where people are literally, like you said, man, they're just entitled. They work for 2-3 weeks and they're looking for a raise right off the bat.
Right.
It's like, my God. And, you tell a guy to go out and knock doors for 2 hours a day, you'd think you're sitting there pulling teeth, right? And when we grew up, when I grew up, man, we were knocking doors from 7 o'clock. We're at our job site. We're hanging flyers until 11 o'clock. We're knocking from 11 to 8.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they'd be like, where are you going to be? I said, well, this is my office for the day. I guess I'm on this street, right?
I mean, I literally had that conversation with my team the other day, and I had an old sales manager that was like, well, good knocking time's like 4 to 8. And I'm like, well, yeah, it is, but so is the rest of the fucking day.
Right, I mean.
Because there's somebody fucking home. You just might have to knock a few more doors to get to the person.
And that's the excuse I hate. I hate the excuse that's like, well, nobody's home.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Right.
People are home.
People are home.
Find the right neighborhood. People are home.
Right.
I mean, you can't tell me people are gone every day at every house.
No.
You know, I mean, I get most of my work done, honestly, between the hours of 9 and 2.
Do you?
I mean,
Yeah, but you don't go door knock anymore.
Not anymore. Most of that stuff comes to me now.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Do you still knock around a 6-pack, though?
I do.
Okay.
Every day.
Okay.
And I don't even have a knock. I have the homeowner actually work for me.
Okay.
So I'll go. I'm sure you've done this before, where you're doing a job where you just got a roof approved by a homeowner, and you say, "Hey, Sally Sue," or whatever her name is. "Hey, do you know your neighbors?" "Yeah, that's Joanne." I said, "You don't mind introducing me? I don't want you to work for me or anything like that. I just want you to introduce me because, you know, a warm lead's an easier lead than a cold lead." She's like, "Yeah, I don't mind introducing you." I have her walk me right over, introduce, and boom.
Perfect. Yeah, that's smart. So, okay, so you did that. You started with Jim, and then how long did you do that for?
I worked with Jim for about 2 years, 3 years,
okay.
And then a person in the company, a partner in the company, said, "Hey, you know, you're the best sales rep here. You know, we can go start our own company. This is information that we're going to get into. So here we go."
Yep.
So
I know a little bit about the story.
All right. So he's like, "Hey, we'll start our own company. We'll get this thing rolling, da-da-da." And, you know, I was good friends with Jim, and I didn't want to whatever. But back in the olden days, if you knew everything about the business, what's the next step, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, all right, well, let's start a company. So we started a company, and, it was fabulous. For 13 years, we made great money.
Okay.
I mean, we were anywhere between an $8 and $12 million company every year.
So you and the former partner of Jim.
He was a minority.
Off.
He was a minority owner in that.
Got it. And you two broke off.
50-50.
And then what did that do to your relationship with Jim?
It kind of soured it for a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, because Jim was my mentor, and it kind of soured it a little bit. But I've always trusted Jim, and I've always respected Jim. It just, you know, that was the next step for me. You know, I was a young kid, 24-year-old kid, 25-year-old kid.
How long did it take you to get that relationship back?
About 3-4 years ago.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, it's been some time.
Did anybody try?
Not really. We kind of broke apart, and then, you know, it's been I'd say about 5-6 years, maybe.
Okay. And the reason I ask that is just because, like, I love talking about relationships, right? Sure. And how people interact. And I'm not trying to be just directly personal to, you know, you and Jim, but I think that people can relate to that, where they have, it doesn't have to be, you know, business, or, you know, whether it is business, personal, or just personal, and people will, you know, you'll lose this relationship, and you have these years that you sit there and you're like, man, I wish I had that back. But then nobody fucking does anything. Everybody kind of sits on the sidelines hoping that the other person will make a move or make a phone call or make a whatever, right? And it's like, I love to hear the stories of so how did we do that, right? Like, who fucking put their hand out first? And
that was the issue, is neither of us had negative feelings toward each other through this whole process. We just, neither of us made that step to say, hey, let's get together. And I don't remember how we honestly got back together. I think it was through a conference somewhere or something like that. But,
okay.
I mean, now we talk all the time. I help him out with Top Rep and do some things like that. So but
feels good though to have that back, right?
Because he warned. I mean, honestly, when we split, or when I went off, you know, I was their number one sales rep, and it was, I mean, whatever. And it wasn't the best thing, right, for their company,
right.
But when we split, he warned me. He said, hey, you know, be careful. You know, they're not the most honest, trustworthy people. But, you know, I gained a relationship with the minority owner, and I thought it was something that, hey, we could do this, right?
And then that turned sour.
But yeah, 13 years. I mean,
that's a long time.
That's a long time. I mean, it went great for 13 years. I wouldn't, honest God truth, I wouldn't change anything in the world, because I learned so much.
Yeah.
Made a lot of money.
Yeah.
Learned so much. And to me, I learned basically every aspect of this business.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so that helped out tremendously. So we got to that point, and then we found out in year 12 or 13 that my partners were stealing from the company and stealing from us. And
how'd you figure it out?
Actually, my wife figured it out.
It's always the wife that figures it out.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
She was she was in the office doing the office stuff, and she was finding checks and things that were written out to crews that we didn't have those crews. And that
really?
Yeah, and so she figured it out, and it was kind of a quick process after that, because I'm a firm believer in trust, and I've one of those people. I do a lot of stuff on handshakes and things like that, and you know, and I when I trust somebody, but when I don't trust somebody, it's hard. It's not going to gain that trust back. And so, you know, and it was Kim to that point anyway, so we just closed the doors, and they begged to want to keep the doors open, and they said they would fix everything, and they apologized.
Fuck you.
And I said, you know what?
How much did they take?
Well, it's not. We only went back 1 year.
Oh.
And it was 90 grand in 1 year.
Fuck.
Yeah. And I mean, in the realm of things.
Were you not able to go back more than 1 year?
To be honest with you, we were able to go back.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to clean slate.
You just wanted to be done. You didn't even really want to know, so you didn't have to be even sicker about it.
No, because I would have gotten a little bit more upset, and I'm a big
Somebody
guy.
might have died.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I just we cut it at the 90.
Did you get the 90?
I did. We basically explained them that if they don't pay us our 90 grand in such a period of time, that they're gonna
and then you will
take
go
a legal
back.
action.
Then you will go back. Yeah.
So they paid us back, and then I told my wife, I said, we owned it for 13 years. We did great. We made a lot of money. I said, you know what I want to do? I said, I want to coach my kids. I want to be with my family. I'm just going to go find a company that I trust, that I feel comfortable with, that's a family atmosphere, that I'm going to be able to grow with and just be a sales rep.
Mm-hmm.
And I interviewed at multiple companies, and they're like, hey, with your experience and stuff like that, we want you to be a manager. We want you to be this. I'm like, man, all I want to do is fucking be a sales rep, man. That's all. Just give me some shirts, give me some contracts. I'll sell you a couple $1 million a year. And, everybody you interview give you you own a company, you sit across from the table, you hear, how many times you hear that from a sales rep? You're like, yeah, I've heard that before, right? Whatever, right?
Right.
And that's kind of a running joke with Tony and I about that is the day I came in to interview for him, I sat at the table, across the table from him. He didn't really know who I was. I sat at the table, I said, listen, man, all I need is some shirts, some contracts. I don't need leads or anything like that. I don't need a canvasser. I don't need any of that shit. I said, I'll be at your top of your board in 2 months. Don't worry about it. And he's like, whatever, and he's like, yeah, sure, go ahead, try it, whatever. I'm like, all right. Well, within 2 weeks, I was already sold over 800 grand. I'm like, dude, this is easy. I said,
that's amazing.
And he's like, holy shit.
And then did he go into the whole, you need to be a manager, you need to be...
They all do.
They all do, yeah. And you're I don't fucking want to.
I don't. And I told him that. I said, being team lead, being manager, I don't mind offering my assistance and helping people out.
Of course.
But I'm not going to sit there and micromanage and try to teach a 22-year-old, 23-year-old kid that you have to go out there and have the grind. If they don't have the grind, it's hard for me to push them to have the grind.
Right. Yeah, you can't train attitude.
Exactly.
You're right. Like you hire on attitude and then you can train skills.
100%.
Right. You can train skills.
I'm the type of guy, I listened to it last year. I don't remember who said it on the main stage about, you're up there on tier 7 or tier 8 and you're trying to pull those guys up. I'm all for that, man. If I've got a guy at tier 1, 2, and 3 that wants to learn and wants to be that tier 7, man, I'll give him the shirt off my back to help him out.
Yep.
But if I got that guy at tier 2 and tier 3 that wants to be at tier 8 but not put the work in to get to there, I don't have time for that, man.
So you went to work for Tony, which I interviewed Tony yesterday, and that was a lot of fun. It was nice to get to know him a little bit.
Yep.
And I say this on almost every episode, but like one of the reasons that I started this podcast was so that I could actually sit down with people and get to know them a little bit better.
Sure.
As you walk around these shows and like you just say, hey, how you doing, man? That's great. How you kids?
Exactly.
Great. And then you fucking keep going, and then you never really connect with anybody, right?
Understand.
And so that was one of the selfish reasons that I started this. So it was actually really nice. Like I got to sit down with Tony. He's like, he's a genuine dude, right?
He's a good guy.
He's a good guy. So you've been with him for how many years?
So I think it's our 12th year now.
Oh shit, really?
11 or 12.
Okay. So let me ask you this then, because if there's sales rep type people, watching or listening to this, and you come in with that different perspective of like, I just want to fucking sell. Leave me alone. I'll help you if you need it, but like, just let me fucking do my thing. I'll own your board. I'll make you a bunch of money. I'll make me a bunch of money, right?
Yep.
So what's the swan song for you though?
Well, I'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
So what's funny about that is what you said is 100% what these sales reps, what a lot of sales reps need to understand is, a lot of people go into this thinking, I want to own my company. I want to own my company. I want to own a company. There's a lot of responsibility and a lot of stress that goes into owning a company.
Correct.
What they don't realize is the responsibilities of the families of the sales reps that you have as an owner.
Dude, every fucking day it bothers me.
Especially in the olden days when I did this stuff, we had to find a storm for these guys to work.
Right.
We had to make sure that our sales reps were making money so they could take care of their families. That's a tough gig, man. Because that's a responsibility that people don't think about.
Correct.
And went through all that. And as a sales rep, do I make less money than an owner? Sure. But I still make great money. But the responsibility factor is now not on my shoulders. The responsibility factor is on the owner's shoulders, general manager's shoulders, shoulders of somebody other than I have to worry about. And I can take care of my family and take care of my wives, coach football, which is my passion. I love coaching. I love teaching. I love helping people learn. That's what I like to do. And so my swan song probably the last couple, 2-3 years that I've been working on now is the Go Beyond the Hustle.
Okay.
And with Go Beyond the Hustle, what we're trying to do is I'm trying to incorporate more for the sales reps a platform for them to come out and reach out to somebody that's that's walked through the trenches, that's been there.
Yep.
That it's not an owner, not a CEO, not going to look down at them and be like, hey man, you should have done this, you should have done that. But somebody that's going through it with them and say, hey, this is what I use that worked out for me. I mean, objections wise, sitting at the door, meeting adjusters, doing things like that. Man, I've got every answer there is. You know, I mean, I've been through everything.
So is Go Beyond the Hustle like a coaching group?
I don't really call it a coaching group because it's, you know, I'm not trying to step on people's toes. I'm not here to go to the different roofing companies and coach. I'm here for Q&A. I've gone to a couple different roofing companies where I go out there and I basically answer their sales reps questions, Q&A, and, you know, do they pay me a little bit? Yeah, they pay me a little bit because they're flying me out there and stuff, but it's more geared toward the sales reps. I'm not here to coach your leadership. I'm not here to coach your owners. I'm here to help your sales reps.
Okay.
So that's why Deshaun Bryan and I get along so well, because he does the hustle part. He's absolutely fabulous at knocking those doors and pounding it. Man. The guy's a machine.
He's a stud,
And that's why him and I correlate so well, because I'm after that, man. I'm after that part. I'm at the networking, relationship building, how to get to that next level where you don't have to knock doors every single day.
Right.
You know,
you got to watch his interview that we did.
I did. He's
you
fabulous.
did? It was fucking awesome. Like, he was awesome. And then I saw him at SRC, and I don't know if you remember the interview or not, but at the end I asked him what he was going to do to give back. And he said he was going to do some Thanksgiving stuff for his community that he grew up in and all that shit. And I saw him at SRC, and I was like, so how many did you donate back? And he's like, motherfucker, I knew I was going to run into you. He's like, I did not want to see you here. And he's like, I fucked up. I didn't do it, but I'm going to do double this year. And I'm like, all right, cool.
I know that John and Deshaun and I were talking about doing a three thing, going out and talking to people and stuff like that.
Doing a what?
Doing like a 3-person Q&A panel. For people.
Yeah.
Going like every aspect of it, you know, the hustle, beyond the hustle, and then the wisdom of John is just...
So the beyond the hustle part is teaching guys how to, once you get past that kind of part in your journey, what happens next, right?
Yep.
So what's it? Give everybody an example
about
of
different ways of networking and relationship building. I mean, for example, myself, which I started doing a few years back, is I hold in Western Wisconsin. I hold basically a insurance agent meeting where I have agents in the Western Wisconsin come to an area. I do a platform speak, and I just basically speak to them about how I can help them in the process of when they open up a claim. Instead of having an adjuster come out and adjust a claim, I will go out and inspect the property, see if it's claim worthy before they make that claim. And so I used to do a lot of insurance agents. I do work with that. Being a member of your community, being a booster member, being member in the parent group at your school,
right?
Doing so many different things inside your community to help. And it might not work right away. It might not, but you're planting your seed and people ask me, I mean, not to get on this, but the people ask me how I did $18.5 million in one season in a market of Minnesota where we have winter for 5 months.
Right.
I said, how you do it is you've planted that seed for 15 years where when something happens catastrophic, such as our hailstorm that we had, they have nothing but to call you.
Right.
Because they don't know anybody else. They're like, Dan is the roofing guy. Dan is the guy we need to contact.
Right.
You know, and when that stuff happens, it's lucrative, but you're also helping your community out, and you're building that rapport, and you're building that relationship up with your community.
And I think the thing that some reps miss is that they don't think that's their responsibility. They think that's the owner's responsibility.
100%.
Right? And it's like, no, it's not. Like, it's your responsibility to go out there and make those relationships so that the work can just come to you.
Yep.
Right. And I coach it all the time with my guys, and half of them will listen and go do it, and the other half are like, well, aren't you supposed to do that? So then the leads come in. It's like, well, no, motherfucker, that's not.
If you're a sales rep and you're depending on leads from your company, that's not how it should be. I mean, Tony's awesome at the aspect of if I say to Tony, hey man, you know, we're doing a backpack program at the community church, you know,
right?
Can you sponsor $400?
Yeah,
he will do it. Donate all day long.
Yep, and I'll do that all day long too.
And we'll put the company name all over it, and we'll pound it out, right?
Yep.
But it's still my job to go out and find those situations, right? Like we did concussion-proof helmets for the entire youth football program.
Oh
right?
wow!
And in doing that, we got to put Build Strong exteriors on the back of every football jersey in there. There's 900 kids with football jerseys that say Build Strong on it, with 300, 400 parents coming to every game, Tuesdays and Thursdays, reading Build Strong on the back of their jerseys.
Right.
I mean, it costs us $5,000.
Right.
I mean,
and as owners, what's cool about that, like if you're on the owner side and you have guys in your organization that are doing that, they're not going to want to leave either, because they built the brand of Dan at Built Strong.
Exactly.
Right. So like, this is why we want to encourage our guys to do these things, then help them out, so that we are kicking in to do, you know, whatever it is, the give back or whatever, because now, you'd be able to do it because you're Dan, right?
Yeah.
But it does make it a little more difficult because now you have to explain why are you not Dan with Built Strong anymore, right?
Yep.
And so now you either have to be the guy that shits on his old company and nobody wants to work with the fucking guy that's shitting on his old company, or you have to come up with some other story, right? And so
100%.
I'm just trying to play both sides of, people that are listening that are like, some guys are reps, some guys are owners, entrepreneurs, whatever. It's like we're still trying to build this culture, but that's how you get your guys to buy in too, right? You're supporting them in the things that they're trying to do to raise their status.
Yeah, exactly. And then, like you said, when, I'm not only raising my status with Dan with Build Strong, like you said, but I'm raising my status as, hey, Dan's the roofer that we're going to use.
Right.
And that's these sales reps that you talked about, that goes back to what we talked about, is they're out there just for the paycheck and just be fine. And they're not willing to put that time and work and ethic into it. And
I've got an old client in Omaha that my grandpa actually started working with back in the 70s. And then obviously me as a kid, I was literally on the roof, when I was 10, 11, 12 years old. And we've done tons of roofs for him on that same building, right? Because it's a flat roof, so you have to maintain it and, all kinds of stuff. And then last year, 2 years ago, they finally got hit with a hailstorm and I was able to get him a brand new, I got him $500,000.
Sweet.
Put a whole new roof on it. And, it's funny because when I call there, because it's a moving company, right? So I've used them 2 or 3 times to move me, and they're literally driving their truck from Omaha to Houston to move me back to Omaha, right? Just because I trust them that much. But when I call, it doesn't matter who answers the phone. I just go, hey, it's Eric the roofer. And they're like, oh, hey, Eric. And they just know me as Eric the roofer. They don't need to know anything else.
And that's huge. That's kind of funny that you mentioned that too, because Hudson got hit with a hailstorm, 6-7 years ago, right? And I did a bunch of roofs back then. And I was out with Tim Brown from Hook Agency. We were out doing a podcast, and he wanted a day in the life of being with me. So we out did a couple of adjuster appointments with State Farm, had some fun out there. Well, we showed up on a lead, which was kind of funny. And I went to the door, and the guy's like, "Are you Dan?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "I'm like, well, how did you hear?" He's like, "You did my roof 6 years ago." And I'd never talked to this guy for 6 years, right? And I'm like, well, man, I said, how'd you remember my cell phone? I said, I get at the office number, but how'd you remember my cell phone to call me up on this? And he's like, look, right here. He goes, you give me a magnet with your card on it that he's had on his refrigerator for 6 years.
Stop it.
No shit. And Tim has this on video, and then he's like, are you kidding me? And I'm like, and then you did something right with that guy, right? You built that relationship. You did something right that dude hasn't talked to you for 6 years, right? And all of a sudden he calls you up on a cell phone when he just gets a hailstorm.
Yep.
And he's had my magnet, my business card on his refrigerator for 6 years.
I think the other trick, the other little thing that you can do, just I tell my guys to do this and they never do, but I do it when I have a trade guy come in. So if I have a plumber come, right, I save them in my phone because I know I'm going to forget their first name.
Yep.
And I put them in as Paul the plumber. So then a year later when I'm like, what the fuck was that plumber's name? And I can just search plumber.
Pop right up
in my phone. I don't have to Google. I don't have to remember the company name. I don't have to remember any of that. I just put in plumber with his first name, Paul, and I'm like, now, granted, this guy, there actually is a Paul the plumber, and he actually named his company Paul the Plumber.
Yeah.
Which is smart, right? That's fucking genius.
It is.
But that's how I put everybody in my phone. So I tell my guys, I'm like, tell them that you're Bill the roofer, and have them watch them save your number in there as Bill the roofer, so that they search their phone roofer.
Yeah,
they'll find you.
I mean, I've got it in my phone. I've got insulation guys. I got all kinds of stuff in my phone that first people I contact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So tell me. We'll finish up with, I want to know a little bit more about Go Beyond the Hustle so that everybody can understand, because you said that's kind of the swan song, type thing. What does that look like in 5 years?
Well, my game plan is in the next few years is we're going to open up, we're going to start doing hopefully a monthly webinar.
Okay.
Where we can get basically for sales reps to come in and ask questions and things like that, doing it once or twice, keeping it real cost effective for people so sales reps can afford it.
Right.
And just doing a Q&A and questions that people are having with adjusters, with objections, anything that entails with the sales rep process of going out knocking doors. And as well as I do that, halfway through the year, 3/4, there's a burnout.
Yep.
A lot of sales reps get a burnout. They need someone to talk to.
Yep.
It's hard for them to go to their manager. It's hard for them to go to their leader and be like, hey, man, fuck, I'm beat. I don't know, But talk to another rep and say, hey, man, I've been there. Usually middle of September is when I burn out for about 2-3 weeks. Man.
Yep.
I'm there.
Yep.
I said, but then you got to get that kicker back in October, especially Minnesota, that we know that, The end of the year of October is
that's when you need to step the fuck up.
That's when you need to go fucking balls out.
Yep.
Because that sets up your spring.
Yep.
So I mean, you got just to have somebody there
build
on
that
their
pipeline.
Yeah, somebody on their peer level that, hey, I can help you out. We're gonna start with that. I've been going to like 3 to 5 different roofing companies where I'm doing Q&A with the sales reps, sitting down, kind of ride out with the sales reps and listen to them at the door and kind of give them a synopsis of, hey, man, you were gonna want to use this. I wouldn't use that.
Yep.
Do this. You know, help them on that process. Kind of modify it. We're kind of it's a stepping process. I mean, we just started doing this a couple of years ago. And I'm not. How do I make this sound? I'm not out here to try to make a lucrative sum of doing this. I mean, I've done okay. I'm here to help the people out now, man. I'm here to help them out, go to that next level, because there is a small, minute part of people out there right now that want to be that 1%. And those are the people that I want to help.
That's who you want to help out. I love that. Okay, so at the end of every show, I always give the floor back to the guest for anything that we kind of glossed over or that you came here with, man, I hope I get to talk about this, or, something like that. So I want to make sure that you always have you got the last couple of minutes to make sure that you leave the audience with the thing that you wanted to make sure the audience, left with.
I think the only thing I'd like to leave the audience is just to sit there and say, as a sales rep, that you got to keep going, man. Don't give this 2-3 months and say this shit, it ain't for me.
Right.
Because we've all been there. If you talk to any sales rep that's ever made it in this industry, they can tell you there was numerous times their first year they wanted to quit. You got to plug through it and keep going. And as a sales rep, it's not always greener on the other side.
Right.
As a sales reps, if you've got the right owner, the right leadership in mind, being a sales rep, it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, I love that.
And it's a game, and if you win the game,
yeah.
I mean, this whole process.
And you win the game by still going, by continuing to move forward.
Because there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. Yeah. It's a roller coaster.
Yeah. You're going to get kicked in the dick. Like, you're going to get kicked in the dick. You got to be prepared to get kicked in the dick, but know that you can come out on the other side of it if you keep going, right? Yep. Dan, I love that. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time to come and talk. And hopefully this was a little bit different than the other shows that you've been on before. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, share, all that shit. I have no sponsors, so please share this. That's what I need from you. We're still trying to get Zyn for all your nicotine needs. Cinnamon's my favorite. Mix it up with a little citrus, and you never know what you're going to get. It's like a box of chocolates. So Zyn, sponsor us, please.
There you go.
That's what I don't know what else to do, right?
Hey, man, I love it.
I'm going to try and I'm going to get a sponsor one way or another. So thank you for listening. Please, again, share this. If you have any questions, how do people reach out to you, Dan?
Go Beyond the Hustle. You can Instagram, Facebook, find me on there. Anybody's has questions, instant message me. My shit's been blowing up for a year and a half now on sales rep. That's part of the reason why we're doing that webinar thing, because I probably answer
the same question 8,000 fucking times.
30 fucking questions. The same. Yeah. Yep. And there's answers for you, and I've got people that are loving it. So.
Yeah, love that. Dan, thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And remember, everybody, to be authentic or get the fuck out. Get the fuck out if you can't be authentic. Get the fuck out if you can't be authentic. Yeah.